let's go to Worship Series and see next what is in the Worship Design Studio for Epiphany Plus. Now, when you click on Worship Series, it shows you all 38 of our series. Now, if you want to just see what's up for Epiphany, you're going to click on the Epiphany Plus box there and click on Filter. This brings up the 6 series that were designed specifically for this time of year. And let me just tell you a little bit about these. The one I'm working on right now, for next year, for 2014, is called Who Are You? Can you hear the Who singing in the background? You know, who are you? Who. In fact, CSI, of course, used that song, that TV show. And so it's that's where I got the fingerprint idea here on this logo. What I found in the lectionary, and this is a lectionary-based one, I have some non-lectionary-based ones in here that I'll tell you about, but this one is based on lectionary year A. And when I sort of did my digging into that this time, what I saw coming out of that lectionary was really a series of ideas about who we are to be. And so I thought, why don't we spend these 9 weeks, that's how many weeks we have in the Epiphany Plus season this year, these 9 weeks really talking about who we are, what's our identity, what are we called to do and be. And so that's where I went with this. Let me open up what's called an inspiration page. When you use our design application in the Worship Design Studio, the first thing that it does is it takes you through a process of creating an inspiration page. I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. So we start with, the program asks you to pick 3 or 4 or 5 pictures that will get really to the essence of the message of the series that you're doing. So here's this wonderful picture. And by the way, the place where I get my pictures is called compfight.com. It's where you can find Creative Commons licensed photos. That gives you the ability to adapt these pictures, and all you have to do is give credit to the photographer, and we do that in the Worship Design Studio. If you end up using these photos and things, we have where you can give credit to the photographers, but this is a really cool thing. There's another one that we use called Stock Exchange that also has Creative Commons pictures. But the synopsis for this series, I won't read you all of these synopses, but since this is the one I'm working on and one I'm really excited about right now, I'll just go ahead and read this to you. The beginning of a new calendar year is a time when we often reassess direction and ask questions yet again about who we are and where we are going in life. We make resolutions, we sign up at the gym again, we vow to be better people. This year we will take a deep journey into the question, who are you? We will discover that who we are is indelibly linked to whose we are. What amazing things could happen if you lived into your best, most passionate, loving self. Let's find out what transformations can happen in just 9 weeks. So this is an invitation to the community to come and take a personal journey and a communal journey into who we are and really see what transformations can happen. So a synopsis is something that I teach in the Worship Design Studio. That's a really good discipline for everybody to use, to write a 3 to 4 sentence synopsis of what the series is. You can use this in publicity, call it evangelism, call it publicity, it doesn't matter. But you can use this in so many different ways. And it's really important to sort of tell people where you're going next on the spiritual journey. So what if you had, say, this inspiration page, you made it into a flyer, printed that out as a flyer, and were able to give that to people who came to Christmas Eve services. It's a great idea to do, to follow up, to have something concrete, to say, come and join us. Even if you just came to Christmas Eve service, and generally you only come Christmas Eve and Easter. Just for 9 weeks, let's see what we can do together in terms of transforming our lives, and give them this flyer so that there's some incentive for them to consider coming back. So let's take a look then at, where was I? Worship series. at the different Sundays in this series. In the Worship Design Studio, you can click on this link called Worship, and it's going to open up and download a synopsis of every Sunday in the series. So you can see here I start on the first Sunday of the year, and we're going to be talking about Epiphany, the actual Epiphany Sunday, and so I call it Follow Your Star. Again, I'm not going to read through all of these, but the idea is understanding that there is purpose in our lives, that we can follow a star, we can vision, we can see, and we can discover who we are called to be. So following our star. The next Sunday, connecting with your belovedness. This is Baptism of the Lord Sunday, and so we have the story of Jesus' baptism. And that beautiful scripture that at Jesus' baptism, the heavens opened and the voice of God said, "This is my beloved, my son, the beloved, with whom I am well pleased." So connecting with our own belovedness. And what does that do to who we are called to be if we really believe that we are beloved of God? If we really live without the human fear of rejection, we know that we are accepted, what difference does that make to us in the way that we live our lives? So then week 3, know your name. The scriptures in the lectionary are, they're calling Jesus by many different names, Rabbi, Messiah, etc. And this is about knowing who we are, knowing our name. I think the Native American tradition of naming someone with a descriptor is really powerful. So that could even be part of what you do that Sunday. Again, in the Worship Design Studio, in just a couple of weeks, I will be posting a document that has actual resource ideas for every Sunday in the series. Music arts, visual arts, media arts, dramatic arts, and verbal arts. So, a lot of these ideas will be forthcoming in just a couple of weeks for this series. Claim your vocation is the next one. This is where Jesus is calling the disciples. And so asking ourselves, how are we disciples and how can we see our vocation? It may be the secular job that you have right now that is your vocation, but you don't actually see it as a vocation, as part of your discipleship. Well, maybe what if we see everything we do as part of our discipleship? How would that change the way that we see our work life? The next one, embody beatitude living. In the lectionary, the Beatitudes fall on this Sunday. Frankly, I thought about doing a whole series based on the Beatitudes in Epiphany because there's 9 weeks and 9 fits perfectly into the Beatitudes, but I needed to do a lectionary series for the Worship Design Studio. So I didn't do that this time, but that's an idea that you could use this time if the Beatitudes seems like something that, if blessing is something that you think your congregation, might want to look at. So, live with integrity is the next one. Something that has integrity is stable. So are all the parts of our lives really working toward the same message? Or are we self-divided? And then creating right relationships. Our identity is so wrapped up in our relationships. And so how does our relationship with others define us? How does living in right relationship with friend and stranger send reverberations into the world and into the future? The next Sunday is Go Beyond. The scriptures are talking about, go the second mile. So the question here, I sort of in the synopsis turn it to how can we go the extra mile as a church? And so asking the communal questions as well as the individual questions along the way is really an important thing to do. Finally, the last one is called Proclaim Transformation. This is Transfiguration Sunday. And so my idea is that the culmination of this series about who are you would be a time of testimony about the transformations people have seen in the last 9 weeks. So it could be very, very powerful since we've spent 9 weeks looking at our who we are, our place in the world, our passion, our vocation, our mission. Okay, so that's what I'm working on for Epiphany Plus this year. If that works for you, I'd love for you to use it. I have many churches in the Worship Design Studio. We have about 500 churches now in the Worship Design Studio. So every season there are many churches who use the one I'm working on, or they use some other ones. So let's take a look at some of these other ones.